Today, I'm going to talk about the Apple Photos app on the iPhone. We're going to look at the Photos app in iOS 26. We're going to take a look at what the library is. We're going to take a look at what collections are, and we're going to learn how to navigate between them and how you can best use them to find photos and organize photos. And we'll take a look at how to customize some of these as well, to make it easier for you to do things. I'm on my home screen of my phone. If you're seeing exactly what I'm seeing, I'm going to navigate around with my finger on my phone. I'm going to try and point to a few things with the annotation tool or with my mouse or cursor so you can pick them up. And the Photos app, my Photos app is located right here. And that's what it looks like on every iPhone. If we tap the Photos app, it'll bring up a screen and it has some recent photos. Let's take a look at what we do to navigate around this. At the bottom, there's a tool called Library, and there's something called Collections, and there's a search icon. Those are three very easy to navigate tabs at the bottom. So now you have just a Library tab, and you have a Collections tab, and you have a search tab. This is what the library looks like normally. The most recent picture I took is the one in the lower right-hand corner. And I can scroll by moving my finger on my phone. I can scroll up and I can go back in time to see previous pictures. They're all typically in organs. Now you notice as soon as I started scrolling, at the bottom, I automatically got three new buttons here: an all button, a months button, and a years button. They're all available for us to be able to work and take advantage of them in any way we want to. So take advantage of that and make it work for you and use it whenever you want. Months will bring it down to months, and it will organize your months, and it actually organizes them by day. This little number 4 here is September 4th. This is September 6th. And you can scroll up. You stay in months. If I go to years at the bottom here, it will give me the ability to organize and look at things by years. I can go back quite a long way depending on how many photos I've got. If I want to get out of that indication, I would just swipe up or down. If you're in the library and you're in months, you aren't going to see a button at the bottom for months. What you need to do is just swipe up or down, and that brings up the menu to switch back to all, which is the standard view when you open up the Photos app. So that's at the bottom of the library function. You do have a search function. So if I wanted to search for pictures that I took while I was on vacation in Rome, I can find all the pictures I took while I was in Rome. And it'll show me all of these, including my Airbnb and things I shot at the Forum and the Colosseum and walking around Rome. Search is active until I click on the X button here. If I want to click on the X button, that eliminates the search, but it also has some recommended searches here, but recent searches that I've done as well. So it gives you the ability to search your library. If I want to go back to the library, I would go back and clear this. I can go tap out of the X to get out of search. And I'm back in the library here. The library is everything. Library is everything, except when you choose to filter it. This top button right here is something new. You can see it's an icon. It's kind of like a more icon, but it is wider at the top than it is at the bottom, to let you know that it's a little bit different than what you might expect. If you tap on that, you have some new options. The normal sort order is sorting by recently added, but you can also sort by the date it was captured. You can also filter your options. So if you don't want to see favorites, or if you want to just see favorites, if you want to see ones you've edited, if you only want to see photos or videos or screenshots or shared, or photos that you may not have in an existing album. Normally, you would look at all items, but if I just wanted to look at favorites and tap on favorites, then it's just going to show my favorites here in the library. And you can see all the little heart symbols. These are my favorites. And the icon up here is changed to a heart to let me know that I'm filtering it. If I remove the filter, I'll see all of my library again. View options is a nice little tool because some people like to see things a lot more with a lot more thumbnail views. If you want to zoom in and have bigger pictures, you can zoom in. If you want to zoom out, you can go to standard and then zoom out one more time, and you'll see many more thumbnails than you will in the normal view. So you have the ability to zoom in and out depending on how you want to view. You can also choose to whether or not you want to see screenshots. If you want to see screenshots, you can leave that checked. If you don't want to see screenshots, you can uncheck it. And photos that are shared with you are albums that are in iCloud that other people have asked you to join their shared album. And that's a type of album you can create in the cloud. That's what your sort includes. That's what your filter includes. And that's the ability to navigate around and change the view options include. One of the view options that's kind of interesting, if you're wondering what it does, is it says view by aspect ratio grid. If you tap that, it'll show you pictures that you've taken vertically or in landscape format. And it shows the different views based on whether you want to organize them that way and choose to view them that way. And if you want to get out of that view, just go to your view options and tap it again. So tap and retap to change your view options. Now that is your library. And you also have the ability to select particular photos if you wanted to select a photo and edit it or modify it or change it. And you have the ability to just tap on an individual photo. If you just tap on a single photo, it gives you the ability to modify and edit that photo. That's the library, which has a lot of power. And you may never bother leaving the library if it lets you find things. It gives you the ability to search for photos. Your phone is automatically recording the date and the time and the location if you have an internet connection on when you're taking the photo. So it's possible to search for photos very quickly, but you can also search for photos by objects. If I wanted to search for photos by, say, cats, I can find cat photos and it'll show me pictures of cats that it recognized. I did not label these photos as cats. I did not identify them as a cat. It just was able to identify them as a cat automatically because it can scan the photos and use machine learning AI to understand what's in the photo itself. So you may never bother leaving the library. That's one thing that Apple has done is it made the library much more usable and much more versatile for people to find and organize their photos by date, by search, by other tools like that. Some people like to organize their photos even more. And that's what collections are for. Collections are things that Apple has created, but you can also create as well. So the first thing you'll see in collections is you'll see something called memories. Apple tries to determine based on a particular date or time or activity you were doing, what might be a good memory. Here's a Las Vegas, January 2022 trip, April 2025, Barcelona, my time in California. So it comes up with suggestions that it creates for you automatically, whether you want to use them or not, or you can type to create a memory if you want to and say, create a memory of my trip to Rome. And the memory will play as a slideshow if you ever want to do it. And you can share it as a memory as well. You'll see little icons here. These are called disclosure arrows. So these disclosure arrows, I'm going to highlight a few of them. There's one here. You'll see one here. You'll see one here. You'll see one here. You'll see them in a lot of places on your screen so it helps you navigate. And I can scroll up. I'm going to swipe up on my screen, and you'll see there's more collections. People and pets, featured photos, shared albums, recent days, trips. And then you get down to what are called media types and utilities and wallpaper suggestions. Apple has created most all of these with the exception of albums and shared albums. Albums I have created. And you can create albums if you want to, but a lot of the standard tools they have for collections like pinned, memories, people and pets, featured photos, Shared albums, those are from the cloud. Recent days, trips, and the media types are all standard things that Apple has created. Now, this may or may not be useful for you. I like viewing pinned ones because pinned includes favorites, which I like because I'll always tap the heart symbol on a photo if I like it as a favorite. Recently saved. A map view is really handy. It separates out videos and screenshots. And if I want to get my recently deleted, I can get to those. Those are pinned if I want to view them. If I don't want to see pinned very much, I can tap on this disclosure arrow right here and it'll take me to pin, or I can tap on this disclosure arrow right here and it'll minimize it. If I tap on this disclosure arrow to the right, it'll minimize all of these collections that I've created so that I can see many of them all at once if I want to, but the standard view will have them expanded if you and show them in a variety of ways. Apple creates all of these collections, and you can edit some of these collections, like the one that's pinned says edit, and that gives you the ability to say, what do I want to have in my pinned collections? I like favorites. I have recently saved. I like map. I like videos, screenshots, and recently deleted. I could add trips, albums, people and pets, memories, featured photos, or media types to my favorites as well, or any specific album could be added to the pinned area here. So you can modify this to see if you want to see things up at pinned if you want to. Albums are things that I have created. So when I look at albums, I can see the albums that I've created here. These are albums that I've created myself based on topics that I've chosen to bring together. They do have a personal albums. They're shared albums. Those are ones that I've put up on iCloud. And then there's activities that I can use to organize them based on activities. If I ever wanted to create an album, I would click on the plus button here. That gives me the ability to create a new album. And then I can give it a name. I can just call it Tech Topic Today. Then when I want to add photos, I can pick photos from here and then click on the check mark. And I now have a new album that I've created in albums. And you can see there's Tech Topic right there. So creating albums is a great way to organize photos if you want to make sure you have a way to find them. If you don't want to have to bother searching for something. If you're not sure about the date or time of something, creating an album is a really good way to organize photos into a specific set. You do not create a second image. You're just letting that image appear both in your library and in a collection. And that's true with Apple Photos on any way you use it. You're not creating a second copy or using up more memory. You're only using one image. Featured photos that might recommend, recent days as recommendations, and then media types. If you want to find out, see panoramas that you've taken, these are panorama only photos now that are displaying. They're great for long landscape shots and things that are wide view that you can utilize. And other tools like slow motion or cinematic or screenshots or screen recordings. There's raw photos. You have the ability with your camera to take a very, very high resolution photo called raw. They have utilities that tries to collect things. It's not too bad with things like handwriting. So anytime it detects handwriting in a photo, even if it's a cartoon that was drawn by like my granddaughter that wrote some names down here of pets, it'll detect handwriting and try and determine if it belongs in handwriting in that recognition. But it'll also try and track illustrations or QR codes. But you can also see recently saved, recently viewed, recently edited, and the map utilities. Now, the map utilities here is the same thing that shows up in the pin view up here. And maps gives you the ability to find all of your photos. So you can organize this with these three dots. You still have a search tool here. It's not like you can only search in your library. If you want to search for any of your photos, you can search for them. But these three dots give you the ability to show your collections in a different format. Typically, it's show all, but if you want to, you can collapse them all so they just look like this in a list, and you can just tap the disclosure arrow to get to them. I'm going to show all. And if I want to change my view, I have a bigger view up on top. Memories is on top. But if I want to change everything to a single grid, it changes them all so that they're all the same grid format. Or if I want to change them to a little bit larger photo, I can do that. Or if I want to reorder the order of the collections. So say the most important thing for me is albums. I can take this albums and I'm going to tap my finger on the three lines here. That's a move icon. I can tap and hold it, and I can slide and move this position and change it if I want to. So albums now appears on top, and then memories is next if I want it to appear that way. So you have the ability to reorder these very, very easily. You don't have to use the ones that they give you, but they are useful to have in a variety of ways. But tapping and holding gives you the ability to move them in a variety of ways automatically. You can collapse and change the view and reorder them in a variety of ways. So you'll always have a tool that you can use to minimize them or maximize them, to see all of your albums if you want to. But as you get familiar with navigating around, I think Apple's made it easier to navigate, but they have changed a few things. If you tap on your photo icon here, it'll give you information about all of your photos and what you're using and how much your storage you're using for Apple Photos. So it's a great tool. The library, again, shows everything. Collections shows things that are organized in ways that you have chosen or Apple has chosen to do for you to help you find your photos. You have a search tool that's available in anything you want to take a look at, whether it's albums or whether it's in collections or library. It will search everything for you. And you have the ability to organize and view things in a variety of ways by tapping on these top icons. I think they've made the icons a little bit simpler, but if you're not used to navigating around, it might take a little bit of while to get used to it. Try the search tool. It's really, really very powerful in finding things for you. So if you wanted to just find pictures of, say, mountains, you could look for mountains here and find mountains. It'll find and identify mountains in your photos. Search will give you a lot of capability that you might not have thought of using before. But again, collections gives you a way to find things by a lot more detail. So if I've taken QR codes of things, sometimes I'll take a picture of a bulletin board and it'll have a QR code on it. So you can see all of those things on there as well. So those are all some of the options that are available for organizing and navigating and moving around the Photos app on an iPhone. It's very similar on an iPad, but you have a bigger screen, so it'll indicate things on the left-hand column and the right-hand column, and similarly on a Mac as well. So again, if you want to create an album and do things, you can always go to the albums here, and you have the ability to click on this plus button, and you can choose to sort your albums by different names, or even change the view within these, or even filter based on albums or folders. A folder can contain several albums, so that's another way of organizing, kind of like creating a tiered view. I don't do that much myself, but other people tend to do that. I've found using the search tool a lot more effective to be able to find things. Take advantage of the tools that are available for you in your navigation to modify it and try it out. You're never going to lose a photo unless you tap on a photo and choose to delete it. So your photos will always be there. It's just a matter of how you want to organize them. And if you find their collections are good enough and the search is good enough, or if you find the library is useful, because remember, when you swipe down with your finger on your screen, you'll get the years and months that you can organize and look for photos as well. And again, you've always got the search tool. So I just wanted to show you a little bit of ways to navigate around in your iPhone Photos app so that you can become more comfortable with it. It changed in iOS 26. Take advantage of navigating around, finding it, and try creating an album to get a little more comfortable with how you can organize and look at your photos. Remember, on Apple Photos, when you're using Apple devices, your photos are always accessible through the Photos app. And you can always import photos into the Photos app as well and modify them as well. So we'll talk at some point in a future tech topic about editing photos and Apple Photos, because they've expanded their editing tools as well. Thanks, everybody.